Really excited to be here with Sean Bingham today. Sean has come highly recommended by a handful of people that I've already interviewed. And so we're sitting in Orem, Utah, south of Salt Lake City. For those of you who don't know where that's at. Sean literally just got back from jamming hard, for what,
all
5
week.
days straight.
Yeah, all week. So I just went to Canada, up in British Columbia, to a place called Baldface Lodge. It's a place I've wanted to go to for years. Been like not just on my bucket list, but like number one on my bucket list. And it's expensive. It's about $1,000 a day to snowboard up there. But they're taking you on cats, so there's no lifts, there's no ski patrol, there's no grooming, there's nothing, just you in the wilderness.
It means a lot that he's taking the time to do this because I know he's super tired.
I'm honored.
Everybody by this point probably knows the format. We ask 7 specific questions. These 7 questions will be what's transcribed and then published as a part of the book. And we'll end up sharing 100 interviews of the top millennial founders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs in the world. So we'll dive into the questions. Sean does not know the questions that we're going to ask. So the first question, Sean, is tell me a story from your childhood that defines who you've become today.
Oh, wow. That is a unique question. When I was in high school, basketball was life. Everything else was just like an obstacle in the way of basketball. I was the youngest in my grade, so there were kids actually in the grade below me that were older than I was. And when you're dealing with athletics in your teenage years, that extra year is a huge difference in growth and maturity and skill. And so I didn't make the team. I didn't make the junior high team. Then in high school, I finally made the team, and I was just stoked out of my mind. And sophomore year, I was just happy to be there, Junior year, I got to play a lot, and I was like a contributing member of the team, and I was, scoring points and doing well. We were winning games. And then my senior year, which is supposed to be like my year, it's supposed to be like the year for me to shine. I'm thinking I'm going to go play in college and, have all these high aspirations and stuff. And I barely even played. We went from 18-2 my junior year to 10-10 my senior year. So not only were we losing, but I was sitting on the bench for most of every game. I'd play a few minutes here and there. And so it was just this massive disappointment, But at the same time, I've always had this never quit mentality, I think that's helped me with entrepreneurship because you can't quit if you want to be an entrepreneur. You have to have this mentality of I'm never giving up. And I think I learned that work ethic and that hard work even when times are tough, in high school basketball. And my senior year didn't turn out like I wanted it to at all, but I still had a ton of fun. It's still a overall experience that I look back on with fondness and feel like I learned a ton and grew a ton.
Tell me about a time where you failed, a specific time in your life where you failed. I think it's sometimes it can be uncomfortable, right? You just shared one of them, but I think embracing failure is important because it's inevitable that all of us are going to have challenges. We're going to fail constantly, right? And
well, the first one that comes to mind would be the one I just talked about. So that one we just went over, basketball. But another one that comes to mind is I used to hold big events down here in Utah County, like parties, dance parties. So we thought, let's just rent a venue and make it like an 18-plus event. We won't serve alcohol or anything like that. We'll just kind of create like a Mormon club essentially for a night. Anyway, we crushed it the first night, crushed it the second. We tried it again 6 weeks later, crushed it again. And then I was like, I don't really want to be just the dance party guy. Let's do a concert. So a little old band by the name of Imagine Dragons, who you may have heard of, was in Provo. And they were not the Imagine Dragons we know today. They were equally talented then, but they just weren't as known. And I could tell how good they were, so I hired them to do a show. And I was like, I'm going to promote a concert. And you're trying to promote a concert of an unknown band is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But I was feeling confident, felt like we could do it. So I shared videos and songs and all these different things. Paid them $2,000, by the way, to do a show. I don't even know if you could get a ticket to their concert for that.
Try doing that today.
And the mistake we made, because this ended up being a failure, it was not their fault. The mistake we made is we tried to combine it with dance party afterwards. Long story short, we went from having about 2,000 people show up to our previous events and the ones after this one. But that particular night, I think we had like 650. So it was the only event that I ever lost money on was that one. And what I learned was we didn't have like a sole focus. Like we didn't, if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. And we were a jack of all trades that night. We were, hey, we're a dance party, we're a concert, we don't know what we are,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
And because of that, like it never picked up the steam it needed. It never took off, and we lost a few grand that night.
Wow,
So,
so interesting. With
yeah.
because of Imagine Dragons,
Yeah.
they could probably pay you back for that.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
If you were down to your last $100, how would you invest that money?
Oh, wow. Bitcoin, just kidding. I do own some Bitcoin though. It's just because I didn't want to miss the boat, just in case, you know. It's like just in case. Okay, $100. Okay, if I was down to my last $100, what would I do to invest it? I would find something to invest. I don't know if it would be an investment that people think about when they hear investment. They're thinking stock market. They're thinking, I don't know, some sort of mutual fund or whatever they're thinking. But I've found the greatest return comes from investing in myself and in what I can produce. I can put that money into myself to generate more, whether it be into a product or into an event or into partnering with a friend, you know, doing something where it's like, hey, we've got this little bit of money, like how can we, I mean, maybe it could be something as simple as buying a lawnmower and starting a lawn mowing business.
Sure.
You know?
It's great.
Because it gives you a tool to like go make money in the long term.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, one of the popular themes nowadays is about routines,
Yeah.
forming routines and habits. And so how have you formed your morning or daily routine, and what is that?
My daily routine, I get up, kind of get ready. I'm not a super early riser. I'll get up around 7:30, so I'm not like the diehards getting up at 4 and mowing the lawn, or reading the paper, and mowing the neighbor's lawn, and doing everything before the rest of the world gets up. But I'm not sleeping in until like 9 or 10 either. 7:30 is usually when I'm awake. Usually the first hour of work I'll do just from home. Then I'll get ready, head to the office, work a full day, and then around 6 o'clock I'll go to the gym and work out, and just get some exercise in. And then I try and like leave all that stuff behind and have a social life. Being an entrepreneur, like the reason I like it, and we were talking about this earlier, it's a lot harder than people think. But the one thing it does give you is it can give you a lot of freedom. You know, if you set up, you know, whatever your business you're doing, if you set it up correctly. And so for me, I try my best, you know, because your business never sleeps. So there's times where like I'm up, you know, late at night or early morning. I mean, today's Saturday and I was at the office at 5:30, you know. Yeah. So it does happen. But at nighttime, I really do try hard to have a social life, whether that be going on a date or hanging out with friends or just sitting and vegging and watching TV or sports. I'm a big sports guy. I have a podcast that I do about sports just for fun, like talking about just
awesome.
Giving the world my opinion on sports for the 10 people that care. But, you know, I'll do that like twice a week in the mornings. You always hear like CEOs are getting up at 4 o'clock and they're conquering the world when the rest of us are sleeping. But I've always said the exact same thing. I'm like, well, no, they're not sleeping 4 hours a night. Like they're still sleeping 7 or 8, maybe 6. But the human body like can't handle much less than that for too long.
Totally agree.
And so I've just decided very clearly, like, you know what, like money's important, business is important, but I'm not taking any of that with me when I die. But I'm going to take relationships and memories, you know. And so I do put a pretty heavy focus on that.
How do you analyze whether or not an opportunity makes sense for you to pursue?
First thing is it interesting to me? Like quick and easy. Like there's plenty of things that get pitched to me or suggested to me, and I immediately am like, yeah, I think that could make a lot of money, but I just am not into it at all, so I don't care. And then what is the real opportunity? Like where's the ceiling at? If the ceiling is kind of low, then that's, even if it's like a sure way to make money, but if the ceiling is low, it's not that interesting to me either.
Sean's done lots and lots of companies. He's started them from the ground up using $0, built them, sold them. Let's maybe take one example. Do you want to use the sunglasses one?
Sure.
Is that a good one? So when that opportunity appeared, or when you thought about it, maybe help us understand, like, what did you do to say that's an opportunity that makes sense investing 2 years of my life?
So the sunglasses one, my brother Justin and I, we had been working on a business called Top Blip, or it's Gig, And that was our first business. It was kind of like an American Idol online. And I know you said one example, but I'll kind of segue into it if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one is a good example of, I just saw an idea that I thought was cool. It was my brother Justin's idea. And he was like, what if we did American Idol online? And this is 2009, so American Idol was huge at the time, especially. And I was like, genius, like, I have no passion for music. I don't know how to code it. We were just like, this is a cool idea. We're going to do it. So we each put in like 45 or 50 grand or something like that. And it just, got off and running. But in the end, I wasn't passionate about music ever. Like, I like music. I love to listen to music. But like, I don't sing. I don't play any instruments. I don't have any music talent whatsoever. So we ended up getting the opportunity to sell the business. And so we did that. And that's when the sunglasses thing came about, and we had all these connections with artists who we'd gotten to know over the years doing gig or top blip. So we felt like they would be a good platform or a springboard to marketing a product. And again, my brother Justin was the one with the idea, and he had helped some friends who did like these interchangeable watch bands. You could like take the face off the watch and like interchange these silicone bands, And he's like, what if we did this with sunglasses? And I had just been at the U.S. Open of Surfing in Huntington Beach, and all the sponsors were giving out, Wayfarer shades with different colored sidearms. Like, it was a black frame and then like a green sidearm or a yellow or whatever. And so our idea was to swap out the sidearms with different colors. To me, like, am I passionate about sunglasses? No, but like the lifestyle they represent, yeah, I am. I'm an outdoorsy, adventurous guy.
Yeah.
And so I liked the idea. I saw major potential. I saw potential that we didn't have with gig or top blip, which was immediate revenue, whereas with what we were doing, it was more of almost like a social media play. We were trying to prove popularity to then have somebody purchase you, and they'll figure out the revenue model.
Yeah. Is there a specific piece of advice that comes to your mind anytime you face adversity?
And another thing that I always preach to people, which I guess you could say is a Nike thing, is just do it. Like, people are always like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it's like, well, you just do it. Like, you just start. I had no idea how to like create sunglasses or deal with manufacturers, but guess what? Like, I just did it. And it's not because I'm more talented. It's just because I was more driven to act, and I was less fearful. I'm a big sports guy, and so, there's that Michael Jordan commercial. I don't know if you're into sports or if you're a big Michael Jordan fan, but he had this really cool commercial where he talked about all the failures he had. I've missed so many shots. 17 times I've been asked to take the game-winning shot and missed, and I've lost this many games, and I've done, all these failures, right? And he ends by saying, I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Mm-hmm. And I've always loved that too. It was the coolest commercial. Like, gave me goosebumps every time I saw it, because it was like, you can't be afraid of failure. You can't. And if you are, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Like, I think back to this trip I made out to China, like when we were actually starting to sell these sunglasses pretty well, and we knew we didn't have like the greatest product in the world. We were just pretty good at marketing. And I thought, if we're gonna make this a real business, I got to get out there and figure out what's going on. So what did I do? I got on a plane and flew out to China, and I met with like 30 different factories, and I made a big list of questions that I wanted to ask them all, and I took scrupulous notes and just was as prepared as I could be. Met people in the industry. I remember sitting down. I reached out to Jeff Curl. For those who don't know who that is, he's the CEO of Stance Socks. They're huge. And I just reached out to him on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'd love to meet. I pretended like I was in the area. He lives in San Clemente. I was not in San Clemente. I was in Utah. And he wrote back and said, yeah, I'd love to. Happy to. And so I got on a plane the next day and flew out to San Clemente and just picked his brain for 3 hours in his office, like learning about manufacturing in China. And he gave me connections. He gave me phone numbers, emails, and all sorts of advice. So you just have to not be scared to reach out to people who know better, try things, and just, you have an idea and just start moving down the path, and things just have a way of working themselves out. Yeah, that's really
cool. So it's awesome that you mentioned that video, because I'm writing a decent amount of content to go along with the book and publishing it on Medium. And recently I wrote an article about how champions are formed. So, right, we always see the end destination, but generally we don't see everything that happens in between, right? We don't see the practice. We
Yep.
don't see the failures. We don't see all the stuff. We just see the championship, or we
Yep.
see the victory, right? And so that video is in there.
Oh, really?
Like literally,
Oh, cool.
I'll show you it after this. But that was awesome.
I've got this poster up in my room too. It's a picture of an iceberg, and the top of the iceberg above the water just says success.
Yeah.
And then the huge part of the iceberg that sits underneath, it has like late nights, failure, rejection, like all this other stuff that isn't seen.
Perseverance,
You know, it's you don't see that. All you see is what's on top of the water.
The last question is, what is one final golden nugget or piece of advice that you would tell all aspiring millennial entrepreneurs?
If you can find something that you are truly passionate about, the roadblocks that you hit will be really easy to overcome because you're motivated. You have your why. You know, you like Cinderella Man. You know, like he knew his. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. He knew his why. Like he was fighting for his family.
This time around, I know what I'm fighting for.
Oh, yeah? What's that, Jimmy?
Milk.
Milk?
If you're truly passionate about something, it's something you truly enjoy, like you just love it. It just makes the hard times easy because you're like, this is fun. Like, whereas when you're not passionate about it, you're not that excited about it, you run into obstacles, and that's when people give up. And I think that's why you hear the stat that it's like 80% of businesses fail within the first year. I think it's because they just had an idea and they went for it, which is admirable, but they didn't really have a plan, and it wasn't something they truly loved. And so, other than the just do it, just act, just move forward, do that with something that you actually have a real passion for, and then you can see yourself enjoying.
So Sean is working on his newest venture, and you've been doing it for...
So it's been a couple of years, but we have only been full-time on it for about 10 months.
Okay, so it's called Adventure Hunt.
We were trying to promote the KZ lifestyle, which was the sunglasses business, in any way we could. And I'd made a ton of relationships at trade shows with cool brands that had similar, lifestyles that they were connecting to their brand. And so I called a bunch of them and I said, hey, I've got this idea. We want to bury a treasure chest, and we want to give people a bunch of challenges to go live the lifestyle that our brands represent. And as they do those and post on Instagram tagging us, they'll earn points to get a clue as to where this treasure is buried in their city. The first 10 cities we did, it was totally connected to KZ. It was just this smashing success. And you could only participate if you owned a pair of our shades, and you had to be wearing our shades in your posts on Instagram. And I remember I was in Huntington Beach and I was like, this is cooler than our brand. Like, this is a business in and of itself. So we immediately decided we were going to separate the two, make it its own company, and test it before we tried to sell KZ or move on from it because it was doing well. But we could kind of put it in cruise control and try this. And so we did that in 15 new cities where we charged a registration fee, kind of like you're doing a 5K or a marathon or something like that. And we made KZ the lead sponsor, right? And it was like a huge success again. So I immediately went to work trying to sell KZ so that we could focus on this because it was just a little bit more fun. Like I'm talking about, you got to be passionate about what you do. This fit my passions way more than style or manufacturing did with sunglasses. And simply put, it is a modern day treasure hunt. It's a fun and adventurous scavenger hunt. It's organized. We have an app built out where you're doing all these challenges to earn points, and the points unlock a treasure map. And the treasure map has clues within your phone on our app where you're solving clues that guide you from point to point within your city, with the end destination being a real, actual treasure chest buried in the ground. There's like $8,000 of prizes in there, the biggest part being a free trip to Panama.
Jeez.
So it's awesome. It's a ton of fun, and we've done it in 48 cities last year. We're doing it in 60 cities this year. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States. It's everywhere. Yeah.
We did it.
Okay, we did
Sean
it.
Bingham, we did it. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.